Ooh.
Okay, I'm going to put up a game. Today's lesson is the final in the series of lessons that I have. Um, and pretty much once you feel comfortable with today's content, then you're ready to get into scrims and basically you're ready to, venture out on your own and do whatever you want. Um, After you feel comfortable with today's material and you can perform it accurately and efficiently all the time, then you'll basically be able to keep up in any competitive game, which means you're free to reach out to teams, start scrimming people, start learning how to learn strategy and different roles and all that kind of fun stuff. Um, the and you'll be able to join competitive teams and stuff, and they'll be more than happy to pick you up because you'll have the skills you need to get the job done. Um, that being said, in the past we've covered basics on boosting in lesson one, um, the Empire side in lesson two with specifically shunt charging and stuff like that. Today we're going to jump over to the New Republic side of things, and so if you remember how in shunt charging, um, the pattern that we were doing was boost drift, shunt to weapons, recharge, shunt back to engines, boost drift, shunt back to weapons, rinse and repeat, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So on NR, and I kind of touched on this at the end of last time. It's very similar, except instead of shunting, you're going to be actually physically moving your power back and forth. There's no shunting mechanic on New Republic, so we have to generate that power somehow. What we're going to be doing is very similar. Pull power out of engines, boost drift, and then put power back into engines about halfway through your drift to regain boost. Let your drift end, like come, slow way down. And then when you have enough boost for another boost drift, pull your power back out of engines, boost drift, put your power back in. And it's functionally the same mechanic as shunting. You're just doing a different thing. It should be a little easier on controller because you actually have physical separate buttons instead of pressing the same button, multiple different times and in different ways. It's everything is just one click. Um, so that makes New Republic very nice. And yeah, that's once you feel comfortable doing this, once you're, you know, able to move around, without running out of power and things like that, then you're free to do whatever you want. You've got all the basics down pat. Um, so
So, quick question: is there anything we need to change in the controls?
shouldn't be. I will touch on
Okay.
one thing, and I'll share my screen here. Um,
Okay.
I mentioned this last time, um, but I'm sharing my screen. If you go into options and go into gameplay, or not gameplay, controls, there's this. There's nothing in the controls that you need to change. We have changed all the important things. The one thing this is up to you to decide because and I'm gonna it's basically personal preference. I'm gonna recommend starting on basic power, the power management tab here. If you start on basic, it's easier to learn at first, but eventually you're gonna want to switch to advanced. Once
Okay.
because you can definitely get more power and more out of your system, out of your you can get more capability out of your ship in with advanced power management than basic power management. Um, and so I always recommend people start with basic just to learn what you're doing, get comfortable with the button movements and everything, and then
Okay.
switch to advanced after they've got it a little bit down so they understand what they're doing. Because advanced power management is an extra button press. um, and it adds more movements into the process, which increases the actually rapidly increases the margin of error for doing things correctly.
I
Um,
see.
For me, for me on Xbox, advanced power management is one button click, or one move of the joystick basically, because I only map maximize power to system,
yes,
and that's
that's
the only buttons I have. So I only click once. It's the same. I have the same mechanics as simple power management.
that's right. That's the same, but and the if it's one click for you, you're probably on basic
No, I'm
because
advanced
it
for
should
sure,
be
for
two
sure.
clicks uh, if you're doing it correctly.
No, no. It's if you look at the controls. Well, the problem is this. I'm on Xbox and you're on PC.
Well,
So
it shouldn't matter because if you have three systems on New Republic, right? You have engines, weapons,
yep.
shields. If you
Hmm.
start with maximum engine power and half in something else, then your cadence is, say, you're gasping into shields. That's a terminology I'm going to use pretty frequently, Maverick. Gasping into either weapons or shields. What that means is it's the system that you're going to have maximized after you have fully
Ah,
transitioned
I
your
understand.
power
I understand.
out of engines.
I
So
understand.
if
Okay.
you're gasping into shields, then you're going to hit weapons, shields, and that's going to put half power in weapons because you initially transfer all your power over to weapons, and then remaining all the power over to shields, which brings your weapons power down to half, and then your
I see.
power is
I
fully drained
remember
out of engines.
I remember you mentioned this before. Like when you switch systems, it leaves half power at the last system you had selected.
Yes, that is on advanced power management, and that
Right.
that
That
makes
that makes sense.
that's two clicks to fully two button presses to fully remove power out of engines. There's no other way
Right.
around that. If you're doing one click on advanced power management, you're not removing all your power from engines, and you're not getting the most
No,
out of your drifts because
no. I was confused with. There is also another concept in the advanced power management is if you can program buttons that says power
yeah,
to, and then you have to maximize power in a system, you have to press it twice
right.
to which is a different, but it's a different thing. I understand what you were saying.
That's
Sorry.
another thing is you want to make sure that all of your and this is where this really becomes important, Maverick. I think I told you this before, but you want your engine power control. You want all of those to be maximized. Maximize engine, maximize weapon, maximize shields. You don't want to have any like keybinds for increasing shield, weapon, or engine power because that only increases it by
Right.
1 pip. I think we went over that at the very start, but it's really, 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 really important now because you're going to be relying on those button presses a lot more. Um, and that's where this comes into play a lot. Um, so, but yeah, that's other than that, and then in controls, you can choose between either basic or advanced. I always start I always recommend people start learning with basic because it's easier to learn. You only have one button press to move as much power out of engines as you can instead of two. So if you want to move, if you're on basic, basic is the one where you have one system maxed and then 2 pips in all your other systems. So if you initially start full power in engines, you're going to have 2 pips in weapons, 2 pips in shields. And then you're going to put power into shields and you'll have 2 pips in engines, 2 pips in weapons, 2 pip and then full power pips in shields. Right?
I see. Yeah.
Um and then it only takes one click because you only need to maximize one system. Um Otherwise, advanced takes 2 clicks because you're dealing with those extra 2 pips. You have a finer control over your system, and thus it takes a little bit more effort. So I always recommend start with basic until you know what you're doing, and then switch to advanced. There are some, and you can absolutely start with advanced if you want to. Advanced is the end goal. You're gonna want to be able to master playing with advanced power management if you really, really want to get good. There's some very helpful mechanics that go with it, like longer dead drifts, which are really important for New Republic, and a thing called shield skipping, which is basically skipping the recharge delay on shields when you're taking damage. It's a bug, but it's a thing, and you should probably learn it because it can save your life. But those are only things that you really get with advanced power management, and they make a difference. So I always recommend starting with basic and moving to advanced once you're comfortable and you know what you're doing. The downside of that is you have to learn the muscle memory twice.
Yeah,
Yes.
that
which
makes sense.
which sucks.
It's easier to learn from scratch sometimes than to relearn something.
And right, that's the other argument is you could just start with advanced now. It's going to be a harder climb initially. It's going to be harder to figure out what you're doing and if you're doing it correctly the first time. But then once you have it down, you won't have to learn any more muscle memory.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let you pick that, but let me know which one you pick so that I can adapt how I train you in doing that.
Okay. Give me a second here. I gotta do something real fast.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I'll choose that here in a sec.
So I think starting with basic is easier. Yes, you have to do some more later, but the extra step to go from basic to advanced isn't that much harder if you're already comfortable with the mechanics first. That's my argument.
When it comes, so let's say we're doing how similar would it be as far as strategizing? I figure.
What do you mean?
It would be a different strategy.
What do you mean by?
I don't know what the fuck I'm thinking.
What do you mean by strategizing?
I have no idea. Because in a way to, kind of how the TIE fighters would utilize the drift more, and if we would utilize the shield more, I figure there would be a way to overlap that.
So you're still going to be relying on the drift for everything.
Right.
You're going to be dead drifting and moving with drifts and boosts only. So nothing really changes on that front. The only difference is now that you have shields, you have to pick which system you're putting your energy into, shields or weapons. Engines is a must. You're always going to need to put power into engines to move around. But for any given moment, whenever you need some system, you're actually going to want to think ahead 5 seconds and think, what am I going to need 5 seconds from now? Am I low on shields? Let me start putting power into shields. Am I low on
I see.
energy
So
power?
you're wanting to maintain everything as we're moving.
Right. So, and this is you're keeping everything charged. All at the same time. You're keeping your shields up, you're keeping your boost up, you're keeping your weapon power up. And that's
right. And compared to the TIE fighter, we have everything basically charged up instantly.
Right. In the TIE fighter, you're shunting power back and forth which instantly transfers power from one system to another.
Oh shit, no wonder why the Empire was so fast at some of these.
Yeah,
Sorry.
The New Republic ships don't have shunting, they have shields instead. So instead of instantly transferring your energy, it's a balancing act, essentially.
Right.
And so you have to balance your power between all your systems to make sure you're getting what you want out of all your systems. So,
all right.
I always recommend starting with basic because it's easy and it's, the balancing act is a lot less hard than advanced. Advanced, you'll get punished if you do it wrong, and punished hard at that.
Well, I figure it'd be pretty quick to learn anyway. I kind of caught on pretty quickly with the TIE fighter.
Yeah.
So I figure this might come in handy. But I mean, a quick rundown of basic is fine.
Okay. We'll start with
going off of that.
We'll start with basic, and if you feel pretty comfortable with basic, we can move into advanced pretty quick.
All right.
All right. I'll put a game up. Create custom load settings. Power management practice. Fostar. That's good.
Let me just make sure I have it on there. Where'd you go? Not gameplay controls. Basic. Yeah. Okay.
All right, the password is tutor. Tutor.
Okay. All lowercase?
Yes, and the game is up under me.
I don't see the game.
I'm not seeing it.
I just put it up.
There it is. Oh. Why?
You want me to invite Lou if he's around?
If he wants to join, he's more than welcome to. You're more than welcome to invite him, but it'd be nice if he was also in VC with us. So, if he can't join
that
VC...
That password's not working.
TUTOR?
Yeah, it's not working. Hold on.
Let me make sure I'm putting it in right. Yeah, password is right. Is your caps lock on?
I think it was.
I logged in, so...
There it goes.
Okay, cool. If Idle is around, he's more than welcome to join at any point. For this, I recommend getting in a jet engine X-Wing. Jet engine is going to be the easiest to do this with.
What do I have? I have a slam engine in my thing. Damn it. Can I customize?
Yeah.
Edit layout. There we go. And you said jet engine.
Jet engine is probably the best. Yes.
Okay. Any other changes I should make?
I like reinforced hull, just because longer dead drifts, but honestly, it's personal preference. Okay. Reinforced hull is going to make you turn a little bit slower. I've seen people, most competitive players run reinforced hull.
It does bring down maneuverability by 25%, so that makes sense.
Yeah, when you're drifting though, your maneuverability is maxed anyway.
Yeah. So
the difference isn't really super noticeable, but I've heard people say it is. Dampener hull is also decent. I've run that before. But yeah, so
right on.
And then any shields, primaries, anything else you want. But let me swap over to basic really quick, and then yep. Options, controls, basic. So it's really simple. You just one tap. I like starting with power and shields. So tap your shields, boost drift, hold your drift, and then go back to engines when you're ready.
Wait, repeat that one more time?
Shields, boost drift, hold your drift, And then just when you feel like you're starting to slow down again, put your power back into engines. And then wait for a second for your boost to recharge. Oh, it would help if I'm zero throttling. Yeah, that's a lot better.
I think I'm getting it.
Do you have the ability to share your screen?
Oh, yeah. Let me stop, slow to a stop real quick. Okay, I should be going now.
Yes, you are. Okay, I'll pull up your stream.
Okay. Oh, wait. I want to keep that up.
So I don't know if I can quite see your power, but it's really important to watch those little pips when you're first learning.
Is it showing like my perspective in VR, like my head bobbing and shit?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think it would do that. I'm sorry. Oh,
You're fine. You're fine. If you just kind of look straight ahead.
I'm just sitting here like moving around in my. Let me try that again. Let me get some. Oh, okay. Okay, we're good. So we're going.
Maybe if you can look slightly down. Yeah.
And let that go up. I can charge my weapons too.
So you never want to boost drift with power in engines.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you want to pull.
Right, we did that with the TIE Fighter.
Right, you want to pull your power out of engines, so you're getting a dead drift, right? And then
right, and
once
we just use. Go ahead.
Yeah, once you have your power out of engines, so you can put it into either weapons or shields, then you can boost drift, and while you're drifting, put your power back into engines.
Oh, so if I'm doing it here, I have to start from shields, and then as I'm drifting, I put it back in the engines, right?
Yes, you don't have to start from shields though, and that's why I'm saying, instead of saying start with power in X system, I'm saying start with power not in engines.
Just not in engines.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what system it's in, it just don't let it be in engines, because if it's in engines, you're not getting a dead drift. And you need the dead drift to be able to move around.
Am I getting the right drift?
You're getting a dead drift.
Or I mean the right speed?
You're getting a dead drift, you're just not moving your power around right now.
Oh, right. Ah, crap.
So
there you go, that was good.
So right there, you just boosted with power and engines, right? So you want to make sure you're...
Now, where I'm at, we're still wanting... Oh, hold on. I was trying to see what you guys are doing.
Just sitting watching you.
Oh, no worries. Okay, so...
I'm kind of flying around aimlessly, also watching your perspective. Let me see if I can just pop this out really quick.
Oh, shit.
If you like rhythm, if you're a rhythmical person, maybe just repeating what you need to do, you know, weapons, shields boost drift engines. Weapons
Weapon
shields
shields,
boost drift.
boost
If you're
drift
rhythmical,
engines.
I remember it like that. I practice it like that. So maybe it doesn't work for you, but it works for me.
That might help actually thinking about it. But
So
let me recharge
so
these. So basically,
weapons weapons
weapon
shields
shield
boost drift.
boost drift engines.
Wep-
Oh,
what
okay.
or weapons engines. Weapons shields boost drifts weapons engines. Weapons shields boost drift weapons engines.
Or
Get it?
like, and that's the advanced power management rhythm.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Yes,
So
yes.
you can definitely go like, weapons boost drift engines, weapons boost drift engines. So
Yeah. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
and that didn't get me.
Yeah. Or yeah, or the system that needs power. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. My beat rhythm beat is for the advanced power.
that looks pretty good. Yeah, so the other thing is you want to make sure you're initiating that drift.
It's the problem is maintaining the speed, the charge boosts.
Right, and
That's probably like the
it's
biggest one.
that's the thing, is it's a balancing act, is you have to, drift for as long as you
Yeah.
can, but when you're drifting, you're dead drifting, you have power out of engines and you're
And
slowing
then when
down.
you have
Or you're
right, so when I'm in advanced, it's still gonna charge, right?
Well, so what you're doing is you're balancing your drift versus how fast your boost recharges. Because if you put power back into engines instantly, technically there's a little bit of a delay. It's 0.75 seconds before your boost starts recharging again. So you have to wait at least 0.75 seconds, and then when you put power back in, you start regaining boost. And you can start that immediately at 0.75 seconds. That being said, your drift is going to be really short, but you're going to regain a lot of boost. Now, you can also move a lot faster and a lot farther if you hold your drift for longer, but then you'll slow down, and when you put your power back into engines, you'll slow down so much that you might come to a stop, and by the time you need to execute your next boost drift, you might not have enough boost in your tank.
Right.
So it's kind of a balance.
Thankfully with X-Wings, we don't have like I probably with New Republic, we don't it doesn't do the boost bleed that the TIE fighters do.
It does.
It does. Okay.
So the boost bleed comes from not running Slam engine.
Slam engine. Okay, I don't know why mine wasn't going down for a second. That makes sense.
When you're running Slam engine, your engines don't bleed boost.
Right.
But if you're not running Slam engine, then the longer you have power out of engines, and you're not drifting, then the more boost you'll bleed. Even sometimes when you're drifting, I can't remember the details because it's been a long time for me, but basically you don't want to like be moving around without power. If you're moving around repeatedly without power in boost, you're going to be draining boost.
Right, that makes sense.
And so that's basically, all your...
Basically, every system that doesn't have power drains it, gets drained. So the whole power management skill is to keep all the systems to return power into all the systems so that they don't drain, so that you can run completely out of power from the system.
Yep, that's correct.
Especially in the advanced power management, if you don't have any pips in a system, it will drain. Of course, this is not 100% true. If you have a resonant shield, it doesn't decay, or lasers don't decay. There is a situation where
there's certain components that minimize your
minimize the
mechanics.
decay. That's right. But
minimize decay.
general idea is that if you don't have power in a system, it loses the power.
Yep.
So you have to flip-flop between systems to keep that power available when you need it.
Yes.
And that's
I'm
one
kind
skill.
of noticing. I'm noticing with the advanced power now, the levels in which they're maintained. That's wild.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah.
So like, say right now you have power in weapons, right?
Right.
Do you have increment power bound? Because it looks like you have increment power bound. Increment. Are you hitting increment?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to only maximize.
Okay.
So in your controls, you want to make sure. So that's not in that setting. So go up to, controls menu right there. At the very top, button assignments. Click that. Go to flight.
Okay.
And then go down. Keep going until you reach right there. So you see how you have those combos all set?
Yeah.
Get rid of the combos, and you're just going to want to have maximize shield power, or maximize. I think you might have to unbind the combos, but.
Oh, all the combos.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to unbind those combos, because those combos are definitely going to slow you down.
But
it doesn't let you do that. That might be a setting that you have to change. Go back to your menu. Go down a little bit. Shield focus. Oh, shield focus and power conversion. No, that's not it. Go down to controller. Go down a little bit further to controller. So you see mouse, controller, vibration, pitch, yaw, roll. Is there anything else on controller? Throttle, input? No. Maybe go back to the menu and look for the gameplay menu. Go down. I don't know.
I think
there should be a way. It might be in your menu, your controls keybinds. Go back to button assignments, right? And maybe it's like below. So go down.
Okay.
Go down.
Hold on, I fucked this up.
No, you're fine.
Okay.
I don't remember what your X was, but you unbound that from something.
Oh, we set the default. Yes. Okay.
So you're gonna want to change your boost, because it's right on. It's on left trigger now.
Yeah. Well, I had it on left trigger. What do you want to change it to?
Oh, do you have a controller? You have a controller?
Yeah. He has a controller.
So you don't have this available. You have to PC and a controller combination. You don't have maximize. You need.
He definitely does. I've seen people run it before.
You need that micro boost. I know Lou was complaining about this, and him and I were troubleshooting this. And with Xbox controller and a PC, you don't have it available. It's showing there, but you cannot do anything with it. You cannot map it.
What?
And he got that micro drive, micro something, to bind it. Lou would be able to give you to tell you what he did.
Hey,
yeah. If you have an Xbox controller and a PC, you do not have these buttons available. It's a bug.
Fameplane, are you in the chat right now? Can you hop into 5-mans with us and help me out with something? I see your hydrate. I'll hydrate, but
Drink your water. Don't forget to drink your water.
yep, I will here in a second. That's really odd.
In fact, Lou did ask in either the Laser Rangers or Black Sabbath. He asked this question, or I asked for him initially, and then everybody got involved. And this is what they said. I can find you the thread here. In Black Sabbath, General Bents.
Yeah, it's not letting you just maximize. That's wild. Okay, you might have to just stick with basic power.
I think
management
there's
for
another
now.
way to do it. I think there is another way.
I think you're right,
because-
but I can't remember because I don't
Because
play
of
on a
this,
controller.
shield focus and conversion controls. That's what we're doing.
No,
Right?
that's so power conversion is shunting, and that's just when you that's the button you press to put your shields to shunt to engines or weapons. It's not named well.
That's what I'm saying. Like
But you're
it
not-
says that, but
you're-
sometimes when they make these, they don't label them very well, and it gets lost in interpretation.
Right, but trust me, I know what that setting does.
Right.
It's not the one that
I'm not
you.
doubting you. I'm just like,
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the one that you. That's not what you think it's doing.
right.
So, I really think you might just have to stick with basic for now, which sucks.
Well, I mean, I could. Oh, that's a long delay.
Yeah.
Damn it.
If you're holding it down, I mean, there's some players who make it work with holding it down, but it's really, really inconvenient.
It's very inconvenient. Yes.
And it's not great. Honestly, you can get by with basic, and you might have to for the start. Do you play on an Xbox alone, or do you play with a controller on PC?
I play control on PC.
Okay, so you will have this available to you eventually.
I'm not in. I wouldn't be in VR if I was on Xbox.
Yeah. So the good news is that we can set this up for you, but it's not going to be today. And I think that's the unfortunate reality is that, and the way you set it up is you have to trick your computer into thinking your controller is a keyboard.
So setting a macro.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, kind
Yes.
of, but it's not.
It's allowed.
Yeah.
It's an allowed macro. It's an allowed mapping.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, there's two softwares that you may need to install to be able to have that, or just get a HOTAS like Lou did in the end.
Well,
Idlemoon,
like,
he did in
that's
the end
the
get a HOTAS.
plan. I definitely may get a HOTAS. I've been wanting to get one of those.
I recommend if you're gonna get a HOTAS, I recommend the VKB Gladiator. It's a really, really good HOTAS, and it's served me well for like 3.5 years now. A lot of don't get one of the cheaper ones; they break really easily. But
Yes, they do. Yeah.
anyway,
I
that's
change
a
one every 3
conversation
months.
for another time. If you feel comfortable with, and the big thing is to be able to move around entirely, non-stop, fluidly, without coming to a dead stop ever, without using your
Right.
throttle, and without running out of boost. Those are the 3 things you need to monitor yourself on when you're doing this. You might have to play around with the timings a little bit, like experiment with putting power back into engines sooner rather than later. Experiment with, the length of your drift. You're going to want to make sure you start your next boost drift before the first one ends, so you're not coming to a dead stop every time. Like when I do it, I'm gonna need to tab back into the game here. When I do it, my throttle hits about 120 before I boost again.
Oh shit! Get out of there! Fuck! What am I doing?
Sometimes it goes as low as like 90 if I'm really making like a U-turn or something. Like if I'm bouncing back and forth, it'll go a lot lower, but most of the time it's around 100 to 120.
Eddie, can you do 3 micro drifts? That's sweet, yes.
Like multi-drifts or micro-drifts?
Micro drifts. Well, I think it ends up being kind of the same.
It's not quite the same because micro-drifts use boost, multi-drifts do not. So a multi... And
evasion, yeah.
that's another thing
Beautiful.
that, you know, using a keyboard specifically allows you to do is if you hit the drift button after the first drift, or before you initiate another boost, your drift vector redirects itself. It's called a multi-drift. It's something you can only do with keyboard because it requires a separation of the boost and drift buttons.
Yeah, that's very hard to hit.
Which, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's a reality. But the good news is if you're on PC, you will be able to eventually set it up. That's another one of those keybind things. That's the one that actually takes the macro to be able to set that up. And it's a little bit more intensive than just like resetting your power. Woo. Ow. But yeah, I can get a couple of multi-drifts in. And eventually, if you build up enough boost, you can boost skip and spend a little bit of it to do some more evasive maneuvers.
Wait, you are on HOTAS, and are you using for power management? Are you using the D-pad or the little mushroom thing? Or
no, I use a HOTAS. I use a flight stick for my pitch yaw roll, and I use a keyboard for my power management and boost drift and throttle.
So your power management is distinct clicks. For me, it's a little mushroom. So I'm doing one slap. I'm doing slap north northeast to get power shield, and then I slap northwest to get power engine, and it doesn't always work, so it's a problem. So I'm trying to, rather than do 2 distinct clicks, I try to do 1 click, but it doesn't always work, so I may have to resort to doing 2 distinct clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. It seems every system has its advantages and its complications. Pros and cons.
I think I'm starting to get a little bit of a rhythm down.
Yes.
So shield, boost, and as soon as I go into the boost, I switch to engines to refill it. So, oh, I'm not.
Not as soon, but give it a second or 2, maybe.
Yeah.
Or 3/4 of a second. Because as soon as you switch to power to engines, you lose the dead drift.
No, that looks really good. I would boost a little sooner than you are now. You're slowing down a lot, and then consequently put power back into engines a little sooner. But that looks really good.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh shit.
It's definitely hard to get.
So the biggest way that people mess this up,
I fucked that up.
the biggest pitfalls are not remembering to put your power back into engines, and losing all your boost. Not
Plus,
initiating.
my finger can slip and accidentally go up and put power into weapons by accident. But yeah.
Yeah. So if you forget to put power back into engines, the other thing is if you forget to take power out of engines, you'll get a dead drift or a drift that is not a dead drift, and it'll like shorten your capabilities a lot. And it won't be very ideal. And then the last way is that if you miss input, and say you when you miss input, you will for example, putting in a boost drift wrong, and then you bleed on your boost because you didn't hit the drift super accurately. That's another symptom, and you just have to like watch a couple of things. No, where are you? Okay.
I think if you practice this in a straight line, get the.
Yeah, I think
easy.
Oh yeah.
you kind of like, you don't have to be zigzagging all over the place like I am. I do crazy shit because I can. If it makes it easier for you to watch what you're doing without having to like zoom around all over the place, then by all means.
It sort of does, because then like if I'm not doing it, I'm not entirely sure if I'm doing it right. But I see what you're saying. Like that makes sense.
Watch the stars as the stars pass you by. If they're passing by fast, you're doing good. If they slow down to a dead stop, it means you're killable.
Yep. You never want to physically see the particles on your screen. And I can follow you around as well to show you, to see if you're doing it right. Okay, good. Good. Boost a little sooner there.
Oh shit. Yeah. It didn't register at first. More power.
So yeah, something... It seems like you're not doing it fast enough.
It's the speed I'm trying to get down too.
It takes a little bit of practice, and you have to kind of finagle around with it. The one thing I recommend doing is watching somebody else's perspective and watching the rhythm that they do with their power management and their boost drift. If you're having trouble nailing it down the first time, watching somebody else do it can be a really big help. Because you can kind of like, see what they're doing. Some people watch the speedometer and look for like a specific speed that they drop down to. Like you could watch your speedometer for 120, and every time you hit 120, do a boost drift.
Hold on, just over your side now. I'm probably just spinning in space right now.
That's one way to do it, is, you know, watch your speedometer every time you hit, you know, 120 or 110. Do a boost drift. And then, you know, finagle around with your power management timings to, you know, find the way that you can, like, move your power around so you don't run out of energy in your systems.
I see what you're doing.
Dogfights and fleet battle.
So when you put the power pack in the engine and the engines at the right time, you're not doing it right away like I was trying to do.
No. There's about a 1 Mississippi, maybe 1.5 Mississippi in between.
Okay.
1 Mississippi, back. 1 Mississippi, move. 1 Mississippi, 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 that sort of thing, right?
Right.
Like, I'm purely...
even increments.
Well, even increments, but I can also, like, you know, do something like this, where I'm going really fast, but I'm holding my drifts for a long time. Or I can slow it way down. Not regain as much boost, but drift for a lot longer. And you'll notice is that when I'm doing this, I bleed boost a lot faster.
Right.
So, like, now I have 1 bar. Whereas if I immediately put power back into engines and boost drift, in just a second I'll have full bars. Right? Now I've got 4 bars.
And that's when you're just putting a little bit extra time into the engines.
Well, I'm drifting with power in engines for longer. And see, now I have 5 bars. And just by doing that, I was able to refill my boost bar. But also, I could hold my drifts for really long. Do a bare minimum. And now I'm bleeding boost. Right? So it's kind of a timing. If you want your power management to be pretty even.
In fact, power management is different. Every ship is different. So you are going to have to find that timing for each ship separately. So
especially with the bigger ships, I'm sure. Yeah.
Well,
each ship has a different. Yeah.
It's not even that, because some ships have a really, really slow gasping cadence, like the support ships. And some have a really fast one, like the Y-Wing. The Y-Wing is a bomber, but it actually has one of the fastest gasping rhythm patterns in the game. It's just, like, ship dependent, and it comes with, like, comfortability of flying your ship in what you learn and how you learn how to do it. But for the X-Wing, generally to stay even, it's about 1 second in, 1 second out. 1 second in, 1 second out. And with the boost drift being as soon as you pull your power out of the engines. And that sits you at about even. If you do that, you'll pretty much always stay at about, you know, however many bars of boost you have. And then another way, like Mare was saying, if you watch the particles on your screen when you're drifting, you can tell when you start to slow down. That, or you can look at your speedometer, and that'll tell you as well.
Right.
And you can trade speed for boost energy for drift length. All 3 of those are interchangeable. Like if your drift length are short, and then your speed is going to be faster inherently. And if your drift lengths are long, then your speed is going to dip a lot lower naturally, because you're slowing down when you're drifting. So it's really a balancing act. You kind of gotta like figure out what your personal like priorities are, what you want to do with each, and mess around with it. So
That's the art of Squadrons.
yes.
That's what makes Sagan so disgusting.
Yeah. That video is great. But yeah. So
Let's try to straight line.
Maybe even if you work, if you just try to build the rhythm and the understanding, if you just go shields, engines, shields, engines, shields, engines, and just use those but understand the effect every time you leave power out of engines for too long, what happens, and what happens when you bring it in too quickly. And once you have that understanding, that's the key. Then you can master all the ships.
yep, that's basically it. And at least any ship with shields. So the support ships, the TIE Defender, the X-Wing, the Y-Wing, even the A-Wing. The A-Wing actually flies a lot like a support ship. It just has the worst engines in the game, the worst power generation in the game, so it requires super precise timings. But yeah, so it looks like you're doing a really good job. Like I'm watching your boost bar, and you're mostly staying around 3 bars, and your movement looks good too.
I'm noticing the timing is getting there. Oh.
Yeah, don't go too far out.
I can see the timing now. I get the timing. Yeah, that makes sense. So, like, as I'm going, and in between going from engine to shield, that's the 1 Mississippi part.
Right. So
and everything else you're just doing in between, which is your boosting and all that. That makes sense.
Right. So I, boost, shift power, boost drift, hold for 1 Mississippi, shift power, hold for 1 Mississippi, shift power, boost drift, hold for 1 Mississippi, shift power, hold for 1 Mississippi. Right. That's kind of what I'm doing. The other thing I want you to notice when you're doing this is if you look at the power, the energy levels in your shields and your weapons and your boost bar. Right now you have completely overcharged shields and you have a full boost bar. So what you can also do is gasp into weapons and overcharge your lasers as well as your shields won't drop. And when they do drop, you can kind of flip-flop back and forth between the two to keep both your shields overcharged, because your systems don't discharge instantly. They hold a little bit of charge. So you can gasp, once into, and I don't recommend doing this. I recommend kind of doing it dynamically. But you could theoretically gasp once into shields, once into weapons, once into shields, once into weapons, rinse and repeat. And that would keep your shields and your weapons overcharged. But your shields are the slowest discharging system in the game. So it takes the longest. Really good to know. It takes the longest amount of time for your shields to discharge. So it might be worth, overcharging your shields and then spending some time overcharging your weapons, and then when your shields reach like, 50% overcharge, put some power back into your weapon or into your shields and overcharge those again. It's just, kind of learning what you're doing. The whole thing is like, while you're doing this, you have to be, and this is the important thing, is what you're doing is you have to be really comfortable with what you're doing, because you're going to be doing it nonstop throughout competitive games and any sort of like scrim that you get into, whenever you're doing anything, and your mind is going to be elsewhere. So it needs to become second nature, just like shunt charging was.
Right.
And that's the really big thing, is because it's these extra movements and it's the specific timings and stuff, it just needs to become ingrained in your head as second nature. So this takes quite a bit of time to cement, because it's a lot of stuff to remember, and it's a lot of stuff to remember how to do perfectly. And if you don't remember how to do it perfectly, you're going to run out of boost and run out of power in systems, and struggle when you're under pressure. Specifically, if somebody's shooting at you, it's really hard, because normally you're able to focus on your power management. But if somebody's shooting at you, you have to focus on not being shot, and you have to focus on your evasion, which decently enough, makes you not think about your power management. You're more likely to mess it up. So, believe it or not, a good way of evading is focusing purely on your power management and making sure you don't mess it up, and moving erratically. And moving erratically is hard, but not messing up your power is something that even the best of players sometimes struggle with. Like, I played in 2 competitive games today, and I messed up my power, multiple times throughout those 8 games that I played. And it's just because, for me, I'm pretty good with any ship once I've been flying it for a while. But if you transition between ships, the power management, rhythms get messed up in your head. And so, if I started in one ship in one game and was in a different ship, or a different style ship for the next game, then the timings were off in my head and I'd run out of power. And that's something that every player experiences. Sometimes some people, some players, struggle when they're being shot at, and they have trouble, focusing and keeping their boost bar full when they're being shot at. Some players,
think of it.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Some players, when they're, when they take their mind off their power management, it goes poorly. And, some people are, naturals at it all, and they're good at anything, but they're only good in one ship. And if you put them in a different ship, most people actually, if you put them in a different ship, they'll not do so well, because they don't know the timings. So it's very dependent, and you kind of just have to mess around with it and learn what you're doing like the back of your hand.
Right.
So
just like we did with the shunt charging and all that.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I think one other thing with simple power management is, because you don't have completely power out of engines, you don't get the boost length as long as with advanced power management.
Right.
You see what you did there, Rick. Now is you did shields, boost, drift, lasers.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that's a misinput, right? So if you don't put your power back into your engines, you won't gain any boost, and you'll bleed boost. I explained at the very start, when we were first doing all this, that your boost bar is more important than your health bar. This is also when that especially becomes true, because there's no instantaneous filling your boost bar like on Empire. So
right,
if you run out of boost in a shielded ship, you're a sitting duck, and then you're a really easy kill. And you know, that's how a lot of people, you know, get kills, is they'll force somebody to sit in one place, and if you sit in one place by yourself, you know, it's not forced on you, then you're an even easier target. Um, so
No, no.
man, my computer is just struggling right now. I'm gonna turn off my stream, and then that might make it better. Turn off my Discord stream.
Yeah, basically, after every boost and drift, you have to put power back into engines.
Yep.
Think of it that way.
But
Right.
not immediately. You want to wait a little
Not
bit.
immediately. Yes. Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. It's the one in Mississippi. That's where the one in Mississippi.
Right. Let me try that again.
And think of it. Think of another thing. To maximize power in a system, you need to have power in that system. But once you reach the maximum, there is no point in you keeping power in that system, because you cannot get any more.
Except for
Therefore, you
engines.
must change into a different system.
Except for engines. You're always going to be using
Engines is the priority.
Engines is always
Yes.
the priority.
Yes. Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
So
Typically, newbies, when they start playing, they think, overcharging lasers, this is the shit. You are the most dangerous when you have full power.
Power
laser.
to weapons? What?
Yeah.
I mean, it is true.
That's my fault.
It is true, but overcharging shields is better because you survive longer. And
I still see crew balancing power every once in a while.
Oh God!
Balance power.
Please don't ever have your power balanced.
Yeah, you got it, Maverick. It's basically that's the mechanic, I think. And out of engines, boost drift engines. Out of engines, boost drift engines. And and always the boost drift always has to be quick, not like some people just do press a button and press the boost and then keep it for a second or two. It has to be just tick 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 tick. That's it. Very quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so what happens after this, and this is kind of everything after this, is trial and error. Because there's no way to teach you how to evade effectively without you dying a lot from people shooting at you until you learn how to not die from people shooting at you.
And that would be better in like a real scenario.
Yeah, and that would be better in like, you go into a dogfight and try not to die for the whole time. Go 0 deaths, which is entirely possible. It's just hard. Because once people notice that you don't have any deaths, they try and kill you. And then that becomes really fun. But the other thing is like
the more they target you. Yeah.
Right. The harder you are to kill, the more they target you. The other thing is that when you start getting into competitive games, you have to learn how game flow works and how, decision making works in games and what to do and when. And that's a whole nother skill set that, all of it stacks on top of the power management basics. And if you mess up the basics, you're basically screwed for everything else. Which is why it's really important to get this stuff down. So make sure you know it like the back of your hand.
Right.
And if you do, then you'll be golden. You'll be unkillable. Especially power management. So
oh shit.
I think I played the last 6 months almost every day.
Yeah.
And, typically, I'm in the mornings during the work week. When I'm at work, I take a break from work and I play Squadrons. Maybe I should go for a walk or something.
You would think that'd be more beneficial, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I started playing. I started. I'm not. I wasn't a gamer, last year. I started playing the game because my dog was getting geriatric sick, and I had to care
oh,
for the dog. I couldn't go anywhere, and then the dog passed away in October, and I still play. Yeah.
oh, I'm having that's something wrong.
Yes, that was a problem. Think of it. Think of another thing. The You are in the most difficult setup. The controller, I think it's the most difficult to set
Right.
up. Uh, if you get a HOTAS and you use just HOTAS or use a flight stick and a keyboard, those are much better, easier setups. What you have is the most difficult setup, I think.
I would agree with that. Some people find it really easy. Some people, not so much. Um, it just kind of depends. Um, I think the people who think it's easier uh, are used to playing with a
Fankar plays.
controller in general, and so they find
Yeah.
aiming easier and power management harder. Um,
Yes. Yeah. Fankar plays with a controller and Dalek plays with simple power management, so possibilities are limitless.
yeah, both of them are extremely skilled players.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't have that in that long.
Yeah. And I noticed that you're making when you're drifting, you make only one movement. Um, how do I put that? You're only moving in one direction, but you can in fact move in all directions. And in
Right.
fact, when you're drifting, this is the best time to move. And but I think this comes with targeting when you are actually targeting somebody. There's Buddy Lou.
I
Hi,
Um,
sorry I'm late. I only just saw the message. I can join for a while, and I apologise for the my
Yeah, what was
tardiness.
that software you were doing to get? You see, our buddy Maverick here has the same setup, PC and a controller, and he doesn't have maximized power
Oh right,
buttons
well,
available.
mine is the free whatever it is anti-micro thing. Apparently it's not the best thing, but it works for what I use it for, and it's just
Like
literally for
auto
that.
hotkey.
Pardon?
He said auto hotkey.
No, it's oh, let me have a look what it is
anti
it called?
micro. I think.
Anti-micro. Yeah, it's just a free thing. But I think from what I gather, it has glitches and it's not supported anymore. But it does the job for just power management, literally attaching your button to your keyboard key. The amount of times I've come out of the hangar though and not had that set up.
Yeah.
You've got to remember to open up that app before you start a match. I warn you. But yeah, hello Medic. Thank you. Are you
Yeah.
in the middle of doing this?
We actually were just kind of finishing up.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I'm sorry.
oh, you're fine.
And you're recording. You're recording
Yeah.
as well, aren't you? So I'm gonna
I
be quiet.
No, you're fine. We've just been kind of like going over some basics stuff.
Well, if you're worth your weight in salt, you should be able to. Well, gold, I'll say. How about that? You should be able to, summarize something for me. Are you able to do that briefly, or is that not going to happen?
1, 2, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, yeah. So that's the order in what you're saying. Going through the systems.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the meme in this community, Maverick, is that the default keybinds for maximize every system are 1 for weapons, 2 for or 1 for engines, 2 for weapons, and 3 for shields. And so the mechanic you're doing when you're gasping is 2-3 boost drift 2-1 boost 2-3-2-1 2-3 boost drift 2-1 2-3 boost drift 2-1. And so if you write out the whole chain of numbers back and forth, it looks like 1 2 3 2 1. And so that's for advanced power.
The cycle. But you can also, if your weapons are your priority, you can also go another way, can't you? You can go the 3-2.
Yeah, you can go 1-3-2-3-1 if you want to gasp into weapons. But it's that's basically. So what I was going over today is just like the basics on how to boost gasp, and I'm sure both of you already know that already from flying around in competitive. So that's kind of all I was going over today. And I think once you're able to boost gasp, efficiently without thinking about it, then you've pretty much graduated from this quote unquote flight school. Like I don't have any more lessons outside of this because you've mastered all of the foundational basics that I have to teach. Everything after this is subjective and situational. Evasion is subjective and situational. Game sense is subjective and situational. How you fly each roll is subjective and situational. It all just kind of diverges, and there's a whole bunch more to learn. But the foundational mechanics of how to move are shared between all ships and all roles. So that's kind of what I teach. So,
are you going to do an advanced thing after this, or maybe not?
I mean, I'm willing to teach more advanced topics. I don't have a set curriculum for them.
I guess, like you said, it's also subjective.
Yeah, it's very subjective. So like, if you wanted me to teach you evasion, then there's no way for me to do that besides shooting at you and telling you what you're doing wrong for a long time. And eventually you'll get tired of being shot at, and you'll start doing something right, and I won't be able to kill you anymore. And then you'll be good at evasion, but you won't get that until you have the experience of learning what not to do. And learning what not to do is a very broad category for a lot of stuff. So,
it's a lot, isn't it, for you to have to deal with? Yeah.
So like, there's certain flight maneuvers. There's only a lot of stuff from here on out can really only be taught with experience. Somebody can give you the basic slowdown rundown of like what to do and when, but you're really not going to get a defined lesson of here's what you do and here's how you do it, and see immediate results with that stuff. It's all progressive growth from here on out, and literal just like playtime experience.
Would you recommend to all of us that we all continue to fill in when needed? It doesn't matter how our level, just fill in and just get that experience.
Yeah. So after this, the thing to do once you master boost gasping is just play as many games with as many people as you can. I would the other thing the one last lesson I will say is I can teach what each role does, and like the difference between a flex, a bomber, and a support, and like play styles. And so like generally Would you prefer shooting it? Would you prefer it shooting at objective ships and AI, or would you prefer shooting at objective ships and players? Most people answer players. Some people answer objectives. Some people say neither. I want to heal my teammates, and those are the really goated people. And there's not many of those.
You're one of them, right?
Yes, I am one of them.
Yeah.
Then again, I also know how to fly every single type of ship in the game. And I'm comfortable.
Bomber today, yeah.
Yeah, I'm comfortable flying anything in a competitive manner because I have the experience of anything. It's why I kind of consider myself a half decent teacher, is because I have the experience to say, hey, here's what you can do and here's what you can't do in any given role. So like, we could do a lesson that goes over like, what you should what kind of components you should run at any given moment, what loadouts for ships, what each ship role is, and the basic things that you're doing in any game, whether it's I mainly only talk about fleet battles because there's not much to do in a dogfight besides shoot people and not die. But that's kind of like it.
Even what you just said there is incredibly broad, because the loadouts, and then you've got all the tactics, different tactics you have for different things.
I mean, it's
depending on the game that's happening. It's a lot to teach people.
Right, and I can teach general stuff, like, oh hey, when you fly a flex ship, which is usually either an X-wing, a TIE fighter, or a TIE defender, you're going to be bringing ion missiles. If you're flying an X-wing, you're bringing proton torps. If you're flying a TIE fighter, you might bring an ion torp. If you're flying a defender, you might bring quick locks. You might bring burst fire lasers if you're in a X-wing, standard lasers if you're in, or burst lasers if you're in an X-wing or TIE fighter, standard lasers if you're in a TIE defender. And
blast burst if you are the shit.
Well, then that's a whole nother. That's an edge case. We call that an edge case because if you're running Plasburst, then you're cracked. For one, you know what you're doing, and two, your loadouts, you're not going to be bringing proton torps. You're going to be bringing ion missile, ion torp, and you're going to be learning specific ways to do damage and play the game that are unique to the Plasburst playstyle, and like that's a whole nother thing to do. And then on top of that, the flow chart of what to do for the flex role, aside from like ships, is always changing, but it always kind of focuses the same thing. Is when you're on defense, you shoot players. When you're on offense, you shoot big ships. Kind of, mostly. There's exceptions to that, but and that's just for one flex ship. And there's always, and like, learning the game inside and out is learning all of those edge cases and figuring out what to do in any given scenario. And all of that is so incredibly broad. I could teach 10 lessons alone on say flex play decision making or support play decision making. I could literally do, and I have done before, a 2-hour-long presentation on support positioning in a game.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because it is that
the operative word.
Right, it is that like if I'm going that narrow and I can still talk about it for 2 hours, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would certainly like to.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
More about strategy, and strategy is where I'm interested. I started flying a bomber and doing the BJ, but I'm leaning. Lately, I've been flying mostly PK, and
the one thing I'll recommend, and the way that I learned, is by playing a lot and this is why I say get into as many scrims as you can, is you learn the most by actively doing, and then while you're playing, self-assess what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, and then try to fix it. Think of ways that you can fix it. So if you find yourself way behind your team on attack, then you need to think, why am I all the way back here? What could make me, get on the ball faster and not have to cross the entire field when the phase flips, for example. Fleet battles are in phases. If you haven't played the Fleet Battles tutorial, I would do that. If you haven't played versus AI, I would do that just to practice, what a fleet battle is like. But there's just so much, once you get past this point, and all of it, really every single bit of it is just trial and error and learning what to do and what not to do in any given scenario. And it's always constant reflection, and that stuff is really hard to teach. There's no good way for me to say, yeah, do this because it'll work, because not everything works for everybody. Yeah, I don't fly with basic power management, so it's hard for me to say, what positioning looks like if you're always flying basic power management, because one, you don't have shield skip, two, your drifts are longer, or your drifts are shorter, and all those things affect mobility and survivability. And so naturally, your positioning, which determines your survivability and who's looking at you and when, are going to be dependent on those things. And that's going to be different for someone who's running advanced power versus basic power. So I really have no say. I don't know how to teach positioning with basic power management, and that's a me thing. There are people in this game who are very good with basic power management. There's a support pilot named Fameplane who is seriously cracked, but he flies with basic power management, and his positioning is so good that it's really hard to catch him in a bad spot, because he's always away from you in a safe position, which is hard to do.
So hang on, he plays like that,
yeah.
I've seen, and he's on basic.
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Dalek is on basic. Yeah.
Wow. There are players who play on basic, and I can't attest to how you play on basic, because I don't. I used to, but it's been a long time, and I've kind of I switched off basic 3 years ago. So this game.
One thing I just noticed with watching Maverick is, in basic power management, you don't lose boost ever.
You do lose boost. It's slower. It's not as punishing. But
you don't use it.
You don't use boost?
Yeah, if you don't use boost, if you don't boost, you don't lose the boost bar. I was just watching Medic for maybe 30 seconds, a minute. He had power and shields and moving around. Boost bar, boost 5.
The other thing is,
it doesn't bleed right away like
doesn't
that
decay
because of the engine. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't decay.
He was running slam engine.
It was just. Okay. You were running slam engine?
No, I was running jet engine. That's why it didn't go down. It bleeds when you have the slam engine in there. I noticed that with the TIE Fighter.
It's backwards. It shouldn't bleed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Slam doesn't bleed, jet does.
Slam doesn't bleed, jet does. So if it wasn't bleeding for you, you were running slam.
I probably picked the wrong X-wing, but that's all right.
So.
That's good to know.
Yeah. You want to so jet is the easiest. So the thing about jet engine that makes it easy is because you regain boost twice as fast as every other engine, but you also burn boost twice as fast. So, but because you're only boosting for a nanosecond, the boost penalty doesn't matter.
You're going into your drift, aren't you?
You're just boosting, for a nanosecond, getting your max speed, and then drifting. And then you only get the benefit of the twice as fast boost recharge. That's why jet engine is so good.
I also think acceleration is there is this. I think that the boosting is much better with the jet engine for the reasons of acceleration and some other things that I don't know. I can't. I don't know about.
I don't think
But
engine affects acceleration, but I'd have to look into that. I think it's. I don't know if there's. If you think it works, then that might be true, but I've not experienced that myself.
Can I ask, do you ever use jet engine with a TIE bomber, or you always with a slam, or you go between the two?
It depends on how I fly the TIE bomber.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I am a player who likes to boost gasp. I don't like shunt charging. It hurts my hands when I shunt charge.
Right.
And so I primarily fly ships that I can boost gasp in. So all the New Republic ships, the support ship, and the TIE Reaper and the TIE Defender.
But basically, it doesn't matter. There are players like Maze who boost gasps in a TIE bomber.
Yeah.
More effectively than most bombers that use the slam engine. So it doesn't matter if it's not better to boost gasp or shunt. They are both the same, both equally good.
If you can shunt, it is better because of the instantaneous power transfer that has no limits, no losses. But that being said, it is possible to gasp in TIE ships. Also, what those players like Maze might be doing are both gasping and shunting at the same time. Yes. Which that's like a whole nother way of like moving power around that's crazy.
Okay, when they do that, are they using jet or slam or
if they're doing that, they're probably using jet, because the gasping with jet, if you have your power out of engines, while you're doing long drifts like that, you're losing drifts, or you're losing boost. So they probably use jet because if they're ever putting power back into weapon or into engines, they want that boost recharge to be as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So if they're gasping, they're probably using jet. If they're not gasping and they're just shunting, they're probably using slam.
And if they're using the both, they would have to stick with the jet probably as well.
Yeah, if they're doing both, they're probably sticking with jet. So there are times where I will fly a TIE bomber like it's a gasping ship and just gasp around the map.
With your jet engine, right?
Yeah, with a jet engine. But, normally you shunt a TIE bomber. There are times that I don't on occasion.
But you'll have two set up then, one with a jet, one with a slam ready to go whenever.
Yeah, I have like 5 different loadouts. Once you hit level 40, everybody has 5 loadouts they can pick from, and they can set up different stuff. So like, I have on my X-Wing, or we'll say Y-Wing, because Y-Wing is probably the most customizable. Or the one that can fly different stuff. So yeah, I've got jet and slam engine Y-Wings. Normally I fly slam engine because I'm used to that with support. But there are also jet engine Y-Wings for if I, want to fly a jet engine for some reason. You can fly a jet engine TIE bomber or a slam engine TIE bomber. It's all very dependent on how you fly. Most people fly jet engine X-Wing. Most people fly slam engine support ship. Not many people fly interceptors ever. There's like 2 people in the community who fly interceptors.
And when they fly interceptor, are they using a form of jet, the propulsion one, whatever it's called?
No, jet and slam only are not they're not usable with interceptor ships.
Okay, so what are the ones that you would go with if you were in an interceptor?
Standard engine, honestly.
Yeah.
Micro thrusters is very maneuverable.
Micro thrust.
I didn't like those.
Micro thrust is the best ship in the game is the best engine in the game for drifting. Slam engine comes second. But slam engine is important for support ships because you're spending so much time drifting, and your power regen is so low that keeping the boost you have is more important than the extra length of the drift.
Yeah, I think it was the micro thrust with the defender, but when it comes to an interceptor, certainly with the TIE interceptor, I didn't like the micro thrust, and I'm pretty sure it was the twin ion propulsion or the standard I was using.
I would not use
There was something. There's a reason why, but I can't remember what it was.
I would not use the propulsion engine.
Right, so it'd be standard.
It'd be standard.
Or micro.
The standard
Microthrust
engine
is slow. Maneuverable but slow.
The standard engine is it's very good. All of the standard engines, all of the standard components in this game are usable. There's no component in this game that's bad. Well, most of the time.
Okay.
There, as I said, there's edge cases to everything, and I could probably do a whole nother lesson on all the different components for all the different ships, what you should use, what you should not use, what's recommended, what's like an edge case component, what components only apply in specific scenarios. Just like
you better contact Random House and pitch a new book for Squadrons then, by the sounds of it.
I could write a Squadrons
strategy guides
encyclopedia. I really could.
Yeah, I bet.
Reignite the whole fucking competitive side of it for sure.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? I wanted to ask before you go, you disappear from this, but what's wrong with propulsion? In your opinion?
So propulsion engine. I'll share my screen again, and I want you guys to see this. It's fine. I'm already
this whole thing, haven't I?
I'm already here. Check this out. So look at my screen, right?
Okay, hang on. Just trying to get on to that.
So this is the A-Wings propulsion engine. The thing about the propulsion engine is this down here. You see an acceleration is 100%, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a bonus of 100% increased acceleration.
Yeah.
Now, acceleration is not only speeding up, but it's also slowing down.
Oh, okay.
So when you're drifting, this engine is going to kill your drifts so fast.
Yeah.
And because most of the optimized movement in this game is based around boosting and drifting, and you want those drifts to last as long as possible, inherently, it's bad to have high acceleration. So, the thrust engine with low acceleration, the micro thrust engine with low acceleration, like a debuff on acceleration, those are all really good choices for drifting. Well, specifically the micro thrust, because you've got higher maneuverability and lower acceleration. That makes it an excellent choice for long drifts because it means that your drifts last 30% longer. And because if you're under throttling, then you don't need to worry about speeding up because you instantly go to max speed.
Yeah, I guess the only time you might ever want to use the whatever it's called, the twin ion thingamabob, is if you were doing a dogfight and you were in a environment where there's lots of places where you're basically accelerating, de-accelerate, lots of things to go around. You could use that to your advantage as a brake, but otherwise you wouldn't want that, would you, at all? Like you just said, for those reasons, absolutely, it makes sense to me. But then maybe you wouldn't in a dogfight either. I don't know. Depends if you're the environment. But would you say it's never useful, so just forget about it?
For what? Propulsion engine?
So you were saying that it basically stops your drift, but you could use that technically if you're in, say, Sassubo and you were doing a dogfight. That might be helpful for maneuvering because you've got quick acceleration, but you also got a brake as well, so you can just go around things quite fast.
Or you could just not fly the A-Wing. Like there are better ships to fly in this game than the A-Wing. Like
that's always an option.
Don't bring an X-Wing. Bring an X-Wing with burst fire lasers and fly the ship that you normally fly in competitive and keep your muscle memory. Alternatively, you could bring a B-wing with rotary cannon. You could bring a Y-wing with slam engine or jet engine or whatever you choose. You could even bring a support ship into a
The only
dogfight.
good thing about A-wing is the straight shooting rockets. If you can get both setups with both left and right auxiliary straight shooting rocket.
Uh,
There's no locking. There's no
See,
warning to the user. You can sneak up,
that
sneak
is
away with
true.
another one.
That is true, but for players who are always bouncing around, like when you're doing when you're boost gasping or shunt charging, then nobody's moving in a straight line for very often. So those rockets quickly become not very useful unless you catch somebody sleeping. Um, which, hey, that's great if you can do it in a public dogfight, but you're not going to get very far within a competitive game. Um,
There's
so
not a lot of people who are very good in A-wing. Yeah,
no, there's not.
there are a
I
few, but there's not too
I
many.
occasionally meme around in dogfights, in an A-wing. If you remember, I said the A-wing flies a lot like a support ship when you end up boost gasping it. Um, it's really really surprising how similar the ships are.
Really?
It's almost exactly the same power management, except there's much less margin of error.
So you're using you do a multi drift with that as well then?
Yeah, I can show you
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah,
Let me
please.
spin up a lobby really quick.
Well, there are a few people that do use. I mean, Professor Autumn does.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right in saying. And are they? Would you say they're effective with that, or would you say?
Autumn.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, Autumn is very good.
Yeah.
Except
Yeah.
she
So
runs thrust engine. She never boost drifts.
Right.
She never boost drifts. She relies on thrust engine to go faster
Really?
than.
Never.
Yep.
Really?
Thrust engine raises your standards, your average speed, so she flies around at full throttle all the
Just
time.
basically just flying about
Yeah.
and maneuvering.
Never
and
never
outmaneuvering.
boost drifts. Just flies around and shoots people with rockets.
Cool.
Hey, I'm gonna hop off, guys. Is there more to learn from this or what?
I mean, I was gonna show you A-wing multi drifting. But.
Oh no, A-wings are not my thing. I'm gonna say.
That's fine. Yeah.
Sorry, this is my fault, isn't it?
No, you're fine. I don't think there's anything else. If you're comfortable, boost gasping and you're comfortable shunt charging, then the next thing I would say for you is, are you in the Randalorian server, Maverick?
Yeah.
Ask Fameplane or one of the people in that server for the Scrim Buddies tag.
Okay.
And whenever people ping Scrim Buddies, start signing up to help out in scrims.
I'm gonna start doing that for sure because I think now with the boost gasping and everything, that's gonna be like something I could actually go in and practice on and be a good help.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and start doing that.
Yeah. The other thing that I would recommend now is try every single ship in the game.
Okay.
Or at least try your flex ships, your X-wing, your TIE fighter, your TIE defender. Try your bombers, so your Y-wing and your TIE bomber. And try your support ships, which are your TIE or your U-wing and TIE Reaper.
Okay, I'll play around with those for sure.
Those 6-7 ships I would mess around with. Don't bother with the interceptors. Okay. Don't bother with the B-wing unless you're really committed to using the B-wing, which is used for like one specific purpose, which is dropping bombs, and that specific purpose is really hard to do if you can't multi-drift. Which we'll
especially in an environment like that, that'd be really tough.
Yeah, we'll get into that later, but
yeah.
Basically, yeah, you can, the one thing I would say is mess around with every single ship. Learn the standard, I would say, components and loadouts for each ship. I can send you some quick screenshots of what the standard loadout is for each ship, and then just mess around and kind of like learn what people have to say about each ship and what you do in each ship, and learn the pitfalls, the pros, the cons of flying each ship, what each role does, and figure out what your play style is. How do you like to play? Do you like to shoot AI? Do you like to shoot players? Do you like to rack up big damage numbers? Do you like to keep your teammates alive? Do you enjoy the thrill of being hunted and people chasing you, but they can't kill you? Like, if you like that, then I would fly support ship, because I enjoy, basically baiting people into trying chasing me and then not letting them kill me, and mocking them afterwards for it. That's my
Right.
That's what I
Time
enjoy about
wasting,
this game.
basically, for
Yeah.
those that
Right.
want to go for you.
Except it's hard work for me, because I have to really work on my evasion and make sure that people, that I don't die, because if I do die, then one, I lose functionality for my team, and two, they got the better of me, so I can improve on my own. But you just gotta like learn the pitfalls of each role. That's the next thing to do. Learn the roles, learn the basics of each role, the loadouts, the basic what do you do in every game, and then like start getting some experience of actually flying against other people. It's really
Play
like
lots, yes.
yeah, it's frightening the amount that you can learn just by being there. So that's what I would do next. But
Okay.
other than that, I don't have anything else for you. If you have any questions from here on out, feel free to shoot me a DM. I'm happy to answer any of your questions, but I don't have anything specific for you here on out. So
Cool.
Here's a Maverick. You have a good.
Well, I'm gonna hop off, guys. Thank you so much. Idle
Yeah.
Moon, Mari, I appreciate you guys chiming in on this too. I'll definitely get on this more for moving forward.
yeah.
Sounds good.
In
We'll see you around.
fact, give me 1 second.
Oh, let me check Randalorians. Wait, that's not it.
Oh, it looks like you have the Scrim Buddies roll. So I just pinged you in the Scrim Cantina chat.
I just saw it right now.
Yeah, this is the chat that if you watch this chat, people will ping looking for people all the time. Like every single day of the week, most days of the week, somebody's going to be putting out a ping in this chat looking for people to play games. Just start joining up whenever you can.
Okay.
And that's the next thing, is just learn, get in games, fly games, get experience under your belt, and learn. That's the best thing I can give you at this point, is I've given you the tools to be able to keep up. It's now up to you to utilize those tools in a way that suits you.
Right.
And
I just checked my roles. I already do have Scrim Buddies on there.
Okay. Do you have notifications turned on for the Randalorian server?
I might not, but I'm gonna change that right now.
Make sure if somebody pings Scrim Buddies that you get that ping, because it happens all the time. You might get annoyed with it, but it's the best way to learn. So
yeah, that's the only thing I gotta look into. I gotta push. I gotta go through these myself. But yeah, I'll go through that for sure.
Yeah. All right.
So, awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much again, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right.
Take it easy, man.
Sounds
Later.
good. I will catch you later. It was a pleasure teaching you.
Wait, he's gone already now.
Rip. Oh well. All right. I'm in an A-wing, and
Yeah, I'm watching.
I think I'm sharing my screen. I'm also streaming on Twitch.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stream.
This will be a little bit of a bonus for my Twitch stream, but you can fly the A-wing pretty much exactly like the support ship. Okay, I am on advanced power.
And what engine have you got with this again?
Standard engine.
Standard. Should I took off that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if Like, every time you see my screen jolt like that, but I don't burn lasers,
Yeah.
or I don't burn boost, that's a multi-drift.
There's that little kind of back little tiny twitch that it does.
Yep.
It's a dampener Hollywood.
Yes. The A-Wing is not very survivable. It really needs every bit of help it can get.
Right, so you got dampener hull on the A-Wing, right?
I think so. I'm also running Scrambler Shield. That's also something that the A-Wing can fly.
Cannot lock for the life of me. Oh no, you don't want. Actually, last lesson we had about shunting, you gave me some idea. That's something that triggered in my head how to fly the interceptor. I think now I can survive a lot more in TIE interceptor than.
Good.
I'm flying now completely differently, and unfortunately, it's cutting into my bomber flight. I changed my bomber flight, so lately I've been kind of shitty on the bomber, but it's gonna come back eventually.
But yeah, I'm basically just gasping it around and multi-drifting.
Yeah, you're doing nice tight turns and stuff there.
That's the standard engine. The standard engine allows me to drift really well. Oh, there's somebody else in this game. Who's this guy?
Sam's dad. Sam's dad.
I do not know this guy. I think I left the password off by accident.
Just killing him. If you don't kill me first.
I cannot kill him. He's on my team.
No, if you don't kill me first.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that I learned lately that one has to do is you always have to pay attention to the person shooting at you rather than the person you really want to kill.
Yes.
This is something I'm not good at. When I zone in on somebody, I just want to kill them. And then the other person that's shooting at me kills me. And
Yeah, that's
I die a lot.
tunneling is it's a thing that, you know, holds some people back because they focus on too much on what they're trying to do rather than surviving. And surviving always comes first, because if you don't survive, then you don't get whatever you want to do done. Right? So eventually you'll just kind of learn how to do, you know, whatever you're doing while somebody's on you, and how to naturally incorporate evasion into your movement.
To be honest, I haven't seen Maverick at all on any of the.
Yeah, he's.
I'm around all the time, but I haven't seen him.
I kind of just. I think he's primarily been staying off for the time being, because he wanted to get the experience of like what to do down first. You know, how to fly before he started to get into scrims and stuff, because I kind of did advise him, you know, hey, make sure you get these lessons down before you start getting into stuff, otherwise you might feel like you're being left behind. And, you know, that is kind of true, is that if you don't know how to boost gasp and you don't know how to shunt charge, then you're going to be, you know, feeling a little bit behind when you start to get into matches of people who do know how to do those things, right? So
I was the same thing. I didn't participate until I got. I felt that I could at least, you know, survive for a while. But then you will have to join and participate if you're going to raise your game. And I learned a lot with playing with you lot.
Yeah.
In terms of scrims and stuff, because then I'm like, well, hang on a minute, I've just taken. Oh, you didn't want to do that. Oh, I didn't know it. Oh, there's a reason why I would tell you after. once I know, it's like, it makes sense. But you won't learn that stuff if you're not, participating.
Yeah, like
and that's important.
I taught somebody why stripping. I actually taught a friend of mine just recently. He's like, these flexes are stripping the bottom of the ISD turrets when there's a weak point right in front of them. Why don't they just shoot the weak point? It's making me mad. And I was like, well, it's because of this reason. And, they were like, oh, that makes sense. Which the reason...
You don't see it.
Right, the reason is that, the reason why you want to strip the bottom is that if you have an oop, then you want to make sure the bottom of the ISD is clear so that you can, exist down there without dying. And if it's a matter between shooting the weak spot and shooting the turret, you want to make sure all the turrets are clean before you shoot the bottom weak spots. But if it's a matter of a bottom weak spot versus a bottom turret versus a top weak spot, you want to get the top weak spot first because you won't be able to get to it in an out of phase. So there's like kind of an order of what you kill and when that's not inherently known, and it's just kind of like known through experience, and you'll never figure it out unless somebody tells you. And that's...
Well, I guess you would figure it out because somebody did figure it out, but it would take you a long time.
Well, right, and nobody told the people who initially learned that how to do that. They just like... That's just something that, people did, and they realized, oh, doing this is more effective. I'm gonna start doing this now.
Why can't you go from top to just too much artillery and you'll just die, whereas the bottom you've got a chance?
So you can go above the ISD, but when you're out of phasing a flagship, you have to have a tether. Otherwise, all the guns obliterate you. So you have one person whose job it is to evade the flagship while it's shooting at you. They're the tether, right? And then once that tether is set, you can do whatever you want before the guns, while the guns are shooting at that one person, because the flagship only targets one person at a time.
And that's always the case.
Yep, that's always the case. So that's why you notice, if a bunch of people, if the phase suddenly flips and a bunch of people die, nobody dies at the same time. It's always like, first person dead, second person dead, third person dead, fourth person dead, fifth person dead, right? There's always like a 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And that's because those lasers aren't like shooting at everybody at the same time. They're shooting at one person. And if that one person just doesn't die, if they manage to somehow evade all those lasers, then everybody else can do whatever they want. That's how a tether works.
Yeah, absolutely. Just amazing somebody figured it out. They were flying about being evasive, and somebody else is reading.
Right.
Saying, I'm not getting any artillery here. Oh, hang on, we figured this out. Let's try this.
So the reason why you strip turrets is because it's hard for the tether to stay alive if the more guns are shooting at it, right? Shooting at them. So eventually you have to... Eventually, you want to, like, get rid of as many turrets as you can, and the issue is on the top of the ISD, there's turbo lasers. Whereas
on the side, right?
on the sides. But they only shoot upwards. So if you're above the ISD, then you're subjected to turbo laser fire, which basically instantly kills you. But if you're on the bottom, the turbo lasers can't reach you, and you just have the little turrets to deal with. And those are much more manageable, so most people tether the bottom of the ISD. There was a couple of crazy people a long time ago who brought 4 Y-Wings into an SCL game, and they tethered the top of the ISD and killed the turbo lasers basically instantly. But it was really hard, and they had to do it really fast, or their tether basically just died instantly. So it's that's why people strip the bottom of the ISD, and then if there's a weak point on the bottom, it's a matter of, hey, do I get the weak point and just take the damage, or do I make it easier for my tether later, and then once the tether is set, I just take the damage then, right? So that's the kind of thinking behind why you know, in the event that you have a weak point and a turret that are both up, that are right next to each other, you take the turret first.
Makes sense. And it's kind of it's a bit of
It's a bit convoluted, but it's a thing. So.
Well, it's a not backup. There's another contingency plan.
Yeah.
Basically, because if it does split, you've got that. You know you can go back in now. The turret isn't there. The chance of you hitting that weak spot before you're taken out, you know, are higher, if not very high.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah.
You have a. That's exactly what it is a contingency plan. Is that you're safety proofing your later self.
Yeah. So you are always playing a game ahead of the way, aren't you? I suppose. Well, a few games maybe.
Yeah,
All right.
this is how does one kill, you know, an AoE?
You would bring an ion missile, you would dunk me, and then you would just delete me. Because... So when I'm moving around like
How
this...
do you lock? I
That's
can't
easier said
lock
than
on
done.
you.
That's the
You
other...
gotta do the
So
dump.
that's
Taking
one
it out
way.
as well.
The other way is you would have to have really, really, really good aim, and you would just brute force through my shields. Because the A-Wing doesn't have very strong shield, it doesn't have very strong hull. It's kind of a glass cannon, and only against other players. It sucks against flagships. So, like, you, if you can deal enough damage to it rather quickly, then A-Wings are really easy to kill.
The only one way I found to kill A-Wings is with the TIE Fighter straight shooting rockets. And this is, I'm saying this because I play Serpico basically daily almost. And I've been killing him lately, and only with straight shooting rockets, because he flies like you. I cannot lock on him from a million miles away or anywhere. I cannot target him because he moves well, and so the only time is when he gives me those couple of seconds. When he gives me those couple of seconds when he's shooting at me, and I full burst of lasers, first laser, one rocket, second rocket, then I can kill him. Otherwise, I cannot. So it's very difficult.
So, part of the reason why you can't kill me is the Scrambler shield. It makes it really hard for you to lock onto me. The other part is the, my movement and my evasion. Because I'm always bouncing around, and I'm constantly moving off your screen, it's hard for you to keep me in one spot. And therefore, you know, you can't keep guns on me for long, and... So that's the other part of it, and it's not easy to move like this in an A-Wing. The only reason I can do this is because I have support. I actually, you know, the A-Wing flies a lot when I'm doing this, very much like a support ship. It's long drifts.
I'm gonna try and kill you now.
And, yeah.
You know, it's funny because
my
you say
Serpico
that,
loadout.
you said that before, and I was like, really? What? But actually, looking at you flying, I know what you mean about the comparisons with the support.
Yeah, like I really have to slow it down. If I, you know, if I gasp too fast, then I lose all my boost, and then I have to hold power with power in engines for a while to regain boost, because the A-Wing sucks at power regeneration, right? And even then, I'm only good for like chip fire because the A-Wing's lasers are shit. And it was so strong at the beginning of the game that the devs nerfed it to hell, and now it's basically unusable.
Is it still better with the standard lasers, or what does Autumn use? Same or?
Rapid fire lasers are the best. Autumn uses rapid fire lasers. Standard lasers have a longer range, and I personally find them easier to use, especially in a like a casual setting like this.
So is the rapid fire, is that still not great as well?
Oh, rapid fire... I mean, rapid fire lasers recharge faster than standard lasers, so they're better at dishing out damage.
Do they deplete fast too?
They
Like
do
jet
deplete
engines,
fast.
and short range. So they're only good if we're quick, like get up close.
Yep.
You know, within like 200 or something.
That is correct. And it's
Secondly, don't give me the opportunity. Even the Turco gives me sometimes 2 seconds. You don't give me that even. So, yeah.
yep.
Okay, there it is. The
But
problem
he
is I'm
constantly-
not.
He does
Sorry,
the
go
little
ahead.
tips, doesn't he? I mean, if you're watching him play now, he'll come
Drifting.
towards you.
He's shooting
Yeah,
while drifting, and this is
yeah, he
this
does
is
that.
very
When he,
hard to target.
but he doesn't give you a chance. It's like literally a little tap down, a little tap up, as you would with a flame, right?
So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm zigzagging towards him, and as he said earlier, he's trying to shoot me with those rockets, but I'm not flying in a straight line towards him. He would have to lead his rockets to hit me when I'm moving like this.
Yeah,
And-
and then he has to anticipate where you're going to be going. That's the thing. And
Right.
The other thing is, I notice you will take little, like you say, chip shots, but then once you've done that, you tend to just tilt your nose either left, right, bottom, or top, just so you're kind of just deliberately go off target. You'll shoot, go off.
Yep.
So then when he's trying to get on you,
So
respond, you're already going in a different.
that's correct. If he's got a bead on me, if we're jousting each other, right? So if Mare is about to shoot at me and he's got a bead on me, I'm gonna move to the side of him, so he has to turn when he's shooting at me. That's a trick from really old, like, Squadrons movement, like, when people were just barely figuring out how to move in this game. They studied, like, movement dogfighting mechanics in zero-G environments. And that was, like, one of the things that, somebody really came up with, was the idea of a J-hook. You might have heard that term before, but it's basically like...
Yeah.
It's basically like if somebody's shooting at you, you boost down and then like shoot at them as you're drifting away. So, and it's a very modified version of that where I'm just like drifting to the side of him, right, and kind of like on an angle and shooting at him as he flies past me. And that's all I'm doing with that.
Line turn onto him. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
So, and I use that. I still use that all the time when people are shooting at me in a support ship. Like I use that, if somebody's shooting at me, I will absolutely boost drift in kind of a diagonal towards them, and they lose their bead on me rather quickly. And that's an evasion tactic that I use all the time. So.
This is hard to kill. There's no two ways about it.
Now let me try. I'll come in.
We went Serpico. We went with him basically killing me 20 times, and I kill him 0. And now he kills me 8 times, and I kill him once or twice, and which means I have improved slightly.
Nice.
And made it more difficult for him to kill me.
You might be spawning in on the New Republic side when you get in here.
Oh, well, maybe I won't, because I just realised you've got 4 people in there now. I thought it was just 2 of you.
Right, it'll fill out the New Republic side first. So if I boot somebody...
That's alright. I'm happy watching it. I shouldn't be playing. I need to actually go, to be honest with you. But
yeah, it's like 2 in the morning for me as well, so...
I'll just watch
Yeah, Medic, you should get started. Yeah, you should. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course.
But,
yeah, I do find you get I guess you've got other things to do, but then once you start somebody asks you a question, you go very next.
You gave me good time, but I couldn't fucking do it. You gave me good time to kill you.
Nice.
Oh yeah, there you go. He
Well,
gave
you
me
have that,
just
didn't you,
enough,
really?
just what I needed.
Yep.
Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, Serpico gives me that more often than you do. Or you may have just given it to me intentionally, but
I gave it to you, and I'm not gonna lie, I gave it to you intentionally.
And that's
it
what
was
Serpico gives me when he shoots at me, and then that's enough.
It's the false
It was-
hope thing again.
Idle, if you want to jump in, somebody else joined my team, so there's
Yeah,
a
go
spot on
Let's
Empire.
finish it up. After this, though, I'll go, and I think you should do as well, both of you.
Alright, I'll take the two of you on. No problem.
Sorry. Hang on, come.
Are those mines?
Yeah, this is another way I did mine. Yeah. But I remember there was a time when I thought they were the best shit ever, but that time quickly passed.
Those were the days, my friend.
Those were the days. Turret mines and seeker mines.
Yeah. Nice rhyme.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I really want this to go. Oh, right. Oh.
Okay, there you got. Okay, you got a little pepper.
A little bit.
The problem with rockets, you have to constantly keep supplied. You have to constantly visit the supply node, which I'm not very good at. Tony Guns, my buddy Tony.
Tony Guns, yeah. Brother Tommy. You would assume, anyway.
I don't know who he is, but he's my
No, but
friend.
whoa!
And I keep killing him a lot, and I feel bad about it.
Tommy Guns about it, doing the prohibition, wasn't it? 1920s in the States, was that when you had prohibition?
Yeah. But it's Tony Guns,
on the
not
right,
Tommy
isn't it?
Guns.
I know, but I was just saying that he might have a brother called Tom. Yeah, I was just cracking a ridiculous cracker joke, right? Not funny.
Yeah, the rockets make you needy for supplies. Yeah, totally good. That's good. In fact, actually, what I was
Oh,
gonna
not
say,
a
what
defender. Fuck. Alright, we'll see if I can even kill you. The A-Wing has a very hard time killing defenders.
Well, go on then.
Why defender? Straight rockets and iron lock rockets. Phew, man. You got Vertigo shooting at you. Now you're in trouble. Can't shoot with shit with the burst cannon. So hard.
Yeah, when you're flying that defender, it's very hard for me to pin you down with the A-Wing.
Well, no, you're gonna get me now. I just stalled it.
Oh,
Somebody's asking to be healed here. Let's see.
yeah, the defender is very tanky compared to the A-Wing, so... Even if I do land lasers on you, they're probably not going to do a whole lot. The best way I could kill you is peppering you down.
Exactly, and wait for me to make a mistake, which I will do, and I just did, right? I'm trying to keep calm here, medic. It's not easy. Oh, for God's sake, come on! Oh,
That was
hit
death.
myself.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll say, oh yeah, you did hit me.
If that guy hadn't rammed you, I would have gotten you, so...
Oh yeah, okay. Come on then, you're gonna prove it now.
Alright.
Leave me alone, are you?
Alright.
What's this guy doing? Jesus Christ.
Who's that?
This one guy I was shooting at, I mean, I had to shoot for him for years to kill him. He must have...
For years?
Yeah. I had him all straight shooting rockets, and it took me more than I expected to kill the next one.
I've got some jerky
Maybe...
lag going on here.
Yeah. This Sam's dad wants to get killed too.
Alright, I do have to go to bed. I'm very tired.
Okay, man.
Yeah, cheers, medic. Thanks,
We
as
appreciate
always.
your help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good games. This was fun. I'm happy to share any of my knowledge that I have. So.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Take
for
care,
sure.
Well, hopefully get a game with you at some point next, or this weekend or next weekend.
Yeah. Alright, I'm
Cheers,
going to
mate.
end my stream, and I will catch you guys later. So.
Appreciate it.
Take care,
Thank
guys.
you.
Lou,
Yeah, you too.
I'm
Bye.
hitting the sack too.
All right, that is all for today. Yeah, so that's that. Uh, the first hour and a half hour of this stream was the lesson. The next half hour or so was some just general talking about what happens next and stuff like that. Lots of like beating a dead horse this lesson. Just because there's, you know, once you have all the mechanics you need, there's not a whole lot you can say that's like doing things different. And a lot of it is just saying the same thing in different ways until somebody understands it. So yeah, that's kind of all we went over today. In that case, I will catch you all next time, whenever I decide to do this again. And yeah, we'll go from there. So, all right, I will catch you all later. Take care.